It's Monday, it's 8 p.m, it's the Monday assessment.
Your people gather round your town when things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the high times, stay passionate through the lows, find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday Assessment, brought to you by the View from the Medway Fancast. We are sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and in partnership with Sports Social Podcast Network and Her Game Too. After back-to-back victories, the Gills welcomed top of the table Bromley to the Priestfield, where in half an hour we were taught a very harsh footballing lesson. We will be going through that, deadline day, and many other things. And tonight I am joined by Warren, Sarah, and Will. How are we doing, guys?
Good evening.
Hiya.
Before I pass you over to Warren and the Views News, most of you watching may recognise Will from the other night where he stepped in as the fifth official. So, Will, can I just talk to you about that experience when the Tannoy announcement went out? Was it a quick jump up, I'm going to put my hand forward, or was it a little bit of hesitation?
A tiny bit of hesitation, because it's odd to switch from supporter mode to referee mode, but not much of a hesitation. It's one of those, if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. And I think because Josh Andrews just missed a couple of chances, we felt like we were really on top in the game, and it felt like we'd go on and win. I was asking myself an interesting question on Saturday at half an hour. If it can tell my announcement out now, will I put my hand up? And I'm not so sure I would. But yeah, it was a great experience, but an odd one.
And are you still an active referee now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was out the following week in the Kent County League, out a couple of times last weekend. So yeah, I'm out every weekend we're away. I'm out, and every Sunday I'm out. So yeah, very active.
And how did you prove to them that you were a referee, or did they just have to take your word for it?
They didn't ask, actually, which was interesting. I think just because of the language I used, I think they assumed I was. I have actually got an app on my phone that's got everything on it, so I could have proved it if I needed to. But I think someone else had gone up before me and was had a few pints beforehand, and I think they were just glad of someone sober coming forward saying they were qualified. So they sort of grabbed me and just dragged me through the barrier pretty quick and said, "Get on with it."
And if another injury had happened, would you have had to get involved, as in run the line?
Well, this is the interesting thing. I tweaked this about 5 minutes after I was standing. I think actually the protocol is if the referee goes down, the fourth official steps onto the pitch. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen. But I was wondering what on earth would happen if someone else went down. And the guy who was fourth official, it was his first match in the league as well. So it was his first match as fourth, and therefore his first match on the line in the league. So it was very strange afterwards, just chatting it through with them. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what would have happened if someone else had gone down.
And a final question. After the game, I saw you walking down towards the tunnel. So was that, again, protocol that you had to go into the referee's office, or was that an invitation by the gang to just take you in?
It was protocol. I had to go in, and that's the point. I had to prove my credentials and give my refereeing number and give all the details. And they wanted me to hang around for half an hour or so and do the initial debrief, wait for the match assessor who said, "Thank you very much, but you don't have to sit around for the whole thing." But yeah, it was protocol just to make sure they got all my details and they got all the subs right and they got all the information right.
Perfect. Warren, Sarah, if you had anything you wanted to ask Will, or if not, we'll move on.
Did you get your match ticket back?
money?
No, I didn't actually. To be fair, I've not asked club for anything at all apart from for a photo of me doing that, which is all I wanted with the board in my hand. So I'm just waiting for that to come through. But no, I did it for the experience. It felt like I'd won a competition just standing up and doing it. But yeah, I didn't ask for anything back.
Yeah, well, I was a referee, and I actually got to run the line for two quite famous referees at Gillingham, David Ellery and Calvin Morton, albeit in a couple of charity games. And I can say that the experience was fantastic, and the afterwards with both Ellery and Calvin Morton was absolutely superb. And it was a lot of laughs, and I didn't realise what actually how far advanced a professional referee was compared to me, who was just doing Medway Area Sunday League Division 5. So, what did you think was the biggest difference between what you normally do to doing what you did? What was the highlight?
Yeah, I think similar to you, Warren. That's I'm normally doing Kent County League or Medway Sunday League. The huge difference was putting the comms in the ear, so having the referee and the two ARs, in your ear constantly. So you've basically got match commentary going on. So I knew the third goal had gone in before the crowd did, really, because I could hear the AR saying it's crossed the line before it touched down to the back of the net after it hit the frame. So I knew it was going in. And that was the real struggle. That was the moment I really struggled to stay in ref mode when that third goal went in. But yeah, it was just that constant comms going on, that sort of match commentary going on.
Yeah, excellent. I'm pleased you got the opportunity.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Cheers for that, Will. I'll hand over to you, Warren, for the Views News.
Right, so Views News. So we signed Ronan Howe on last week, and he was able to play on Saturday, albeit a cameo role rather than from the start. So I'll go to you, Sarah, first. Where do you think Ronan Howe fits in to a formation?
Oh, God. Ask me a question like that.
I love putting you on the spot. It's great.
I don't know is my honest answer. He looked good on Saturday, and yeah, I don't know where he's going to fit in at the moment. So is my honest answer. Thank you for putting me on the spot. But what I did see on Saturday, I liked a lot. And I think we're going to see a lot from him going forward, as long as he gets the time out on the pitch.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go Dave next, because me and him had a little bit of toing and froing on WhatsApp this afternoon with regards to Ronan Howe. So where would you play Ronan Howe as a lone striker, Dave? Or would you play him in a pair?
For me, it all depends on formation. If we go with what we're doing now, for me, he has to play. He looked lively, and for me, he's better than Josh Andrews. Do I think and this is where we disagreed earlier, do I think he's a lone man? Probably not. But it's all going to be dependent on what Gareth does. If he goes back to three at the back to get two up front, then obviously, yeah, he'll be with a big man. But I think Gareth likes wingers. So I do think he will be up front on his own. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on his own up front tomorrow night.
Okay. I'll get onto this later on in the show, guys. But
I know you disagree with that.
I know. Absolutely. 100%. I think you're talking crap. But we'll move on to Will. Will, you obviously saw his first cameo. And we know that he's a goal scorer. Do you think that he would be able to create chances for himself if he played up front on his own? Or do you think he's the type of player that's going to feed off a big man and go for bits and pieces?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is traditionally he looks like he's the second striker playing off someone else, and it sort of worked when Vokes came on and almost winning the headers. But actually, when I first saw him come on, he was very slight. He looked really small. I was worried about him coming on with those two big centre backs at Bromley, but actually he held his own. He used his size and he used his physique really well. So you could see he was making lots of runs into the channel, and what he needs is someone who can see those runs and pick the pass to him. And I think, when we come on to some of our conversation later, that might be relevant, but he needs someone who can spot those runs, because 2 or 3 times you saw him peel away. to make the angled run towards the box, and no one was picking him out, and he was getting a little bit frustrated, I think.
Lovely, cheers. So we go on to Brad and Shannon. They've been a little bit conspicuous by their absence between sort of December and the last week or so on social media and the normal everyday media. I'll go with you, Dave. Do you think that Brad and Shannon are good when they're on social media compared to being bad when they're not around and it looks like they don't care when we know they do?
For me, they've just got to be consistent. If they're on when we're winning, they need to be on when we're losing. But I'm not too fussed really about the social media part. Really, I would like to see both at more games. I know Shannon's been at an awful lot, if not most home games, and Brad's obviously been abroad. But for me, obviously, the past owner obviously was a lot more local and was at every game. I think we like to see them at games, and I think the players normally respond bar Saturday when they're there. But yeah, with the social media stuff, for me, they've just got to be consistent. You can't just disappear when we're losing.
Yeah. So, Will, do you think it makes a difference with them interacting with supporters on social media?
Yeah, well, it's good to see them, and I think it's their passion comes across, and their interest comes across. I think bizarrely, I think Dave's right. It tends to have more an impact on the players normally. You can sort of sense when they're around. There tends to be a slightly different atmosphere. So it's interesting how that plays out on the pitch normally, rather than how it plays out in the stands.
Yeah, cheers, Sarah. I know you have a little bit of interaction with Shannon.
Indeed.
Right. And I know that you enjoy that. Do you think when she's not around, it's detrimental to the football club?
I don't know if it's detrimental, but I do think having them around is a bit like, when your boss is at work. When your boss isn't there, then, you still work, but you don't work to necessarily the top of your sort of game. So having them there, I do think that the players think, oh God, the boss is here, we better make a bit more of an effort.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I do think having them around is a good thing.
Unfortunately,
nice to see more of them.
Saturday, did we, in the first 30 minutes?
True. And to be honest, they must have been sat up there looking down and feeling a bit like disappointed parents, knowing that their children could do better.
Yeah, I agree. But for me, it's been a bit of a welcome change seeing them back on the fold and having a bit of a say on social media. I don't mind if they go through all the cliches and everything else, whatever. It's just nice to see that they're still interacting with a few supporters while they're going.
And they do, if you see them in the factory afterwards, they're very sort of, have a chat with everyone. They're not standoffish and, they're right in there wanting to chat to people and see what their feelings are.
I agree. I think when they're around, it makes a big difference to the football club. And when they're interacting on social media, whether they're here or whether they're not, I think it helps the football club no end. So that brings me on to the club media. And Will, we've gone over from block pictures to this other guy now on the media. Do you think our media's improved or do you think it's got worse?
I'm not sure I've really noticed the difference, to be honest. I think it's similar style. I think they sort of keep a sort of fun edge to it, which I think is good. And they're pretty good on the social media compared to what we've had in the past. I haven't really noticed much of a difference, to be honest.
Yeah, so Sarah, do you like some of the videos that they put out now?
Yeah, I do. I think they're good. There was one on Instagram, wasn't there, the other day, and it was Dinosaur Day. And, you got Brad jumping around as a dinosaur and players sort of drawing pictures and stuff. And that just shows the sort of fun side to the team as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I love that. Yeah,
I agree. And David, we're seeing more and more pictures of the players training, and it makes you a little bit closer to the players. Do you agree that with the extra video stuff that the new social media guys doing, do you think that's good for supporters?
Definitely, especially at a club at League Two level. We're not lucky enough to have multiple updates each day on Sky Sports News and cameras coming in to interview everyone. So this is our access to the team. And even if it's only a 30-second to a 1-minute clip of something, it just keeps us involved and makes us feel like we're part of everything. And I think they do a good job of that. Sometimes the player announcement videos I don't think are as good as they were a couple of years ago. But I do like, the day-to-day, like Sarah said, that one the other day was quite funny. And yeah, I just like, the training ground stuff. I like all of that. But yeah, the player videos I think could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you, David. It's work in progress, but I like to see more of the social media stuff coming out daily than just when we sign a player or a player goes. So, or they want to sell us something. So we go on to deadline day, and it was announced today we've signed Omar Beckles. We've also signed Ronan Howe, and we've also signed Antwi from Newport, and I can't remember his first name for the life of me. So that's the trouble when you're approaching 60 years of age. Sarah, I'll come to you. What do you think of our deadline transfer window?
What, the ones we've signed already, or
Yeah, the ones we've signed.
I'm not sure. I'm probably going to be very controversial on this. I'm not sure on Beckles. I'm really not, because from what I've sort of done a little bit of homework, he's not played any matches this season at all. Is that right?
Don't think that's right. But I think he played the
because
first.
Dr. Google told me that, so on Wikipedia. So yeah, I was relying on that. So what have I learned about Beckles? He's the PFA chairman, so that can't hurt.
Power to the people.
Sorry?
Power to the people.
Power to the people, Wolfie. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to be a solid defender. I mean, is he going to be a bit rough and dirty and bring back some of the sort of like 1980s grit to the team, maybe? Quite possibly, from what I've heard. And is that a bad thing? Probably not. Have we been a bit light and fluffy recently, and perhaps we need a bit of grit and determination and a bit of brute force, maybe, allegedly.
Yeah. So I'll go on to you, Will. What's your feelings of the window in January?
Yeah, I think it's a good window for me. I think we've tackled 2 or 3 of the big problems. I think we needed a goal scorer desperately, someone who can reliably score goals, and Hale hasn't done it yet, but he certainly looks a cut above what we've had so far in terms of movement and intent, which is good. I think we had some pace in the middle, which we're desperately lacking. And I think Bromley showed us on Saturday the way you get out of this division is you have big, ugly defenders, and you're physical, and you sort of battle your way out of this league. And I think Beckles brings that. I mean, I know some fans are not happy. He's had a couple of howlers against us. I've seen him play for Leighton Orient a couple of times against other people, and he's had a good, solid game and really led that back line. So I'm hoping that's what he's bringing is that old-fashioned grit to the back line, which is desperately needed. And I think it just leaves us one big problem, which we might come on to later.
Yeah, David. I don't want you to talk about the players that we signed. What about the players that we haven't let go? Who would you have liked to see leave in this window?
I'd like to have seen a few go, and that's not just because I don't rate them. I think there's some that deserve to go out and play some football. I think Marcus Wiley's one. I think he deserves to go out and play some football. And I think next week the loan window ends, but after that I think they have to drop down to non-league. So I think Wiley will go. I wouldn't be surprised if Ogie goes as well. And I'd probably quite like now to see Johnny Williams go and get some football elsewhere, because there's 16 players out of contract at the end of the season, and they're going to need, if they're not going to get minutes for us, they're going to need to go and almost go on trial somewhere to get some football. And I'm sure there's others that could potentially go out and get some game time, but they're the 3 that have come to the top of my head that I think should go out and get some football.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, Hal, don't know a lot about him. Seen some clips, but some of the stories are good. Some of the stories are bad from Ross County. I still think he's going to have to play in a 2 up front, because I don't think he's physical enough to play on his own. Antwi, I don't really know a lot about, so I can't really pass judgment until I I see him because I didn't go at the Newport home game, and I didn't see his cameo role because I left early on Saturday. Beckles, I've seen him a few times and I don't rate him, but I've been crying out for a leader. I've been crying out for a tough, hard centre half who puts his foot in. From what I've ever seen of Beckles, he's always done that. Probably for Gillingham's benefit because he's got sent off once. But for me, his record shows that in the 11 games he's played against Gillingham, he's won 3, drawn 3 and lost 5. So he's only won 3 out of the 11 games against Gillingham. So his record ain't that good. So maybe his record for us will be a lot better than against us. So I'll hand you back to David.
Thank you, mate. I was going to say quickly before we move on to the lineups, do you think potentially he will be our captain next year?
Yeah, I think Little will go.
Do you think he could be made captain straight away, or do you reckon that they will give it to Little for the rest of the season?
I think it would be dependent on whether Little has expressed a wish to go because he's one of the ones whose contract's up. So if he's not going to be here next year, what's the point of having him as captain? Can't see the point of it.
No, I'd be up for it. As I think I put in our WhatsApp group, I think Little for me is a starter, but I don't really see him as a captain type player. But it could cause chaos if you change captain mid-season. But I wouldn't be surprised if Beckles is captain next year.
Yeah, is what it is.
It is. We will move on to the lineups. So Glenn Morris was in goal. We lined up with a back four of Sam Gale, Andy Smith, Connor Masterson, and Max Clark. In front of them was Robbie McKenzie and Captain Armani Little. We had 3 behind the striker, which was Gareth McCleary, Bradley Dack, and Aaron Rowe, with Josh Andrews up front. So, Warren, I will start with you. Lineups came out. Were you surprised the new man didn't go straight into the team?
Yeah, I was. Why pay out 250 grand for someone if you ain't going to play him? And all the reports from Ross County are you got to start him. You can't bring him off the bench. And I was surprised that he played. I'm surprised that Rowe got another go. Apart from that, they pretty much picked themselves. If you're going to play Gow at right back and not Hutton. But I'm sure when we go into the game detail, it didn't work, did it?
And Will, what were your thoughts when the lineups came out? Were you surprised that Hale and Antwi, at least one of them, didn't start?
Yeah, I was actually. I think, we'll get onto this in a minute, I'm sure. But I think it's, it was a bit of rinse and repeat from last January. I was surprised we didn't go back to a back 5 because we knew exactly what Bromley were going to do, and they did it. And we just left Clark and Gale exposed down the flanks, and they couldn't cope, which I don't think is really their fault. I think we just didn't set up to match up what we knew Bromley were going to do.
And Sarah, same question to you, but Will kind of has mentioned something that I was going to ask you. Were you surprised with the formation, given how the centre halves got bullied at Bromley earlier in the season? That we didn't line up with a back 3 from the start.
Yeah, I think we're learning that a back 4 system just doesn't work against all teams. And going to a 3 is probably the way we should have done. I mean, Gareth owned it, hasn't he? He said, don't blame the team, blame me. And he's right. He chose the team. He's chosen where to position everyone, and it just didn't work.
And now we'll move on to the fun bit. The game itself. A game where the stats don't really tell you the true story. Obviously, the first half hour completely killed us. Again, Warren, I saw you put out your Project 8000, and we got there. Just unfortunately, the team didn't let us down. I'm going to do this slightly different than what I normally do. I normally try and, when I'm hosting, I try and ask some questions about what I want you to go through. I think I think it's best for this performance that I just let you all in turn just speak. I'm not going to ask you any questions. I just want your honest thoughts on the whole game as a whole, the first half, the change of formations. Could Gareth have done anything? And you just talk away. So Warren, I know you've been waiting for this bit, so I'll let you go first, mate.
Right, so the back five were completely and utterly useless. All five of them. Sorry. Glenn Morrison goal, Gale at right back, Smith, Masterson and Clark didn't come out of the dressing room. We're on their holidays, whatever. But that was quite poor defending. They didn't defend as a unit. If you look at some of the goals, we blame Clark, but did Masterson get across to help him? And when he didn't get across, did he pick up his man in the middle? No. Masterson again, he's dived in for one of the goals. He's on his feet. You're never going to stop anyone when you're laying on the floor. It just looked a mess, didn't it? Apart from that first 30 minutes, did we play well? Yeah, we probably did. Did we deserve something out of the game after the first 30 minutes? No. There was a bit in the game that really did cheese me off when Dak and Little got done on the touchline just in front of me, and the Bromley player came away with a ball, and Dak and Little were standing there, our two leadership players, right, stood there looking at each other, arms folded. Are you going to chase him or am I? We won't bother. We'll be all right. And Clark again got exposed down that left-hand side. Honestly, it just smacks of people thinking that they're going to get in the team every week and that their place ain't at risk. Now, Mackenzie and Little, yes, then they're never going to get dropped. Gale at right back, we love Sam Gale, and I think he's going to be one hell of a player. I think he's probably one of the best prospects we've ever had, right? But he needs a rest. He needs to be taken out and given a bit of a break. We've got Andrews up front, who's up there on his own. We're meant to be playing these two wide men that get near him, and we're meant to have Dak in behind him to push up, playing the 10 role when we do lump it up. But where Dak can't get up and down anymore, he struggles to get up anywhere near him. I'm sorry, the whole formation looked a mess. We looked a mess first 30 minutes. Okay, I think Gareth could have made 5 subs at half time, if not before, to change it around a little bit. But we carried too many people on Saturday. It was like men against boys. They were strong, we were weak. They had mental capacity to go into a big game with a big crowd and put on a show. We didn't. Ben Thompson, we all know he was an outstanding player when he came to Gillingham. How can you let a central midfield player score a hat-trick? Who's covering him? Who's chasing him? Who's detailed to man mark him? And this playing the 10, I don't get it. I really don't get it, because with that losing his legs before in his first spell, yeah, he could play the 10, he could be up and down. But at the moment, he can't do it. And we're getting swamped in midfield because we've only got Mackenzie and Little in there. The two wing backs for Cleary and Rowe offer nothing defensively. Matt Clark took all the stick. What help did he get? I've seen the goals where people are moaning about and getting caught for pace, right? But at the end of the day, where is his help? What midfield player went along and helped him? What winger was covering? Nobody. It weren't happening. And I'm afraid until Gareth gets hold of some of these players and oicks them out, right, and puts other players in and gives them a go. In fact, on tomorrow night, I'd even play Shadow Gear ahead of Sam Gell and Smith. I really would. And I'm sorry, the stats don't always tell the true story. We were second best all day. It never looked like we was ever going to get back in the game, and I thought Bromley had won it after a half hour. We could have all packed up, gone home after half hour and said, oh, well. The fact that we scored just before half time just gave us false hope. That's me, I've rant over.
I was waiting in case there was more. Will, same to you. Again, no questions from me, just, from the heart, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with what Orange just said in a lot of ways. I think it was back to that same thing where it felt like the wrong formation. It felt like you didn't need to have gone and watched Bromley in the last week or last couple of weeks. You just needed to play back the video from last January and show what Bromley did to us. And we let them do exactly the same. And I think it exposed two of the big problems we've seen for quite a few weeks now, which is we don't have any fullbacks. So for me, Hutton and Clark are really good wing backs and they offer a lot going forwards, but they're just not solid traditional fullbacks. We lack that sort of power and pace and physicality on the wings. We've been vulnerable to teams running at us all season. And the other is the space through the middle that Warren's talked about. Dak's a luxury in some ways. He's probably the best player on the pitch, mentality-wise and vision-wise. But unless he's got the legs around him, he's a luxury. And the amount of times teams have just run at us and just run through the middle of the park and we've backed off, all they've found big gaps to run into is worrying. So I've sat there a couple of times this season and thought a good team would really pick us off here. And that's what Bromley did. They were a team full of confidence. Were there 4 or 5 shots on target and scored 4 goals. I only think of Cheek hitting one straight at Morris as the other one they really missed. So you'd almost rerun that first half an hour 5 or 6 times. They'd probably only score the 4 goals once, but that's what happens when you're on form, when you're confident and things go. And then we made silly errors. So Smith made a huge error with Cheek, letting him turn him and then turn him inside out in the box before he finished, or before he got the save out of Morris, and it fell to Thompson. Morris looked culpable for the one from further out. I mean, Clark got exposed down the left, and just as a straight run to the box and a low hard shot. Probably shouldn't have beaten Morris at the near post, but I suspect he wasn't expecting it to come that hard and that quick at his near post. But yeah, it just felt like individual errors. It felt like tactically not set up in the right way to counter what probably we're going to do. And it was I don't get the Gale experiment at right back. I think we're losing one of our best players at centre back. Hopefully going forwards, Gale with Beckles alongside would be a really good mix. But for me, if you need an emergency right back, you put McKenzie there. You don't put Gale there. Someone who can sort of read the game and has got that physicality. But yeah, so I think for me, that's the last big issue we have to solve, is that sort of fullback area and just having some pace and some aggression in that fullback area. But I think it was all too predictable, really. And that was my worry when I saw the team sheet. If it's back 4, it's all too predictable. And I've got these echoes in my mind of we've been through this 4 times. When Harris talked about lack of leaders, wants to play a back 4, hasn't got the quality to play a back 4. Clement said the same. Bonner said the same. Gareth saying the same in the last couple of weeks. He's talked about leaders. He's talked about wanting to play a back 4. And when we play a back 4, we look vulnerable. I think that's our big weakness, and everyone knows it.
Thank you, mate. And Sarah, I'll come on to you. Actually, I've thought of something, so I will give you a question. For the second home game in a row.
I don't get questions, I get a question.
That's all right. For the second home game, the Gills used a tactical timeout with a Glenn Morris injury. And I think in the first half, with all the injuries that went on, I think Gareth called the players over 3 times. But not much seemed to change. Was that just people not getting the messages? Is football nowadays just getting a bit too complicated?
Probably. Are they just not listening to him? Are they just kind of like got their la-la fingers in and they're just out there doing their own thing? Are they just... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what does he say to them? Warren, can you hear him when he's there? It's just like, is he actually just saying to them, come on, you can do this? Or is he sort of giving them proper advice and where he wants them? Unless we're there, we don't know. Or
is he doing it because that's what he thinks we want to see?
Yeah. It could be as simple as, have a drink of water. Come on, boys, you can do this. You've got this. Don't let them get the better of you. Don't let them go under your skin. And it could be just a boost rather than anything tactical. Who knows? But I just think we allowed Bromley to play the game they wanted. You know, it was physical, it was quick. You know, they'd obviously looked at our form. They know exactly how we're going to play, and they literally played us. That's what I think. So, you know, it's like we conceded goals, it was mistakes, and yeah, you can see why Bromley are top of the league, can't you? I think, you know, they've just got as I said before we come on air, you know, our team just looks really slow compared to everybody else. It's like we're on a go slow. Everyone else seems to be much faster than us and a lot of pace. And we just seem to be just on a, yeah, all right, then we'll get there in a minute now. And I don't know why that is. There's no sense of urgency in our players. You know, where's that gone? You know, where's that sort of the want and the drive and the need and the passion? Where has all that gone? I don't know. We need it back. You know, we're mid-table, and yeah, we need to be top of the table, not mid. And I don't think we're going to get much higher than about 14th or 13th where we're playing. But that's me, and there we are.
No worries. I've heard what you guys thought. Now let's listen and see what Phil thought.
We've just been through a footballing lesson. We've been shown what we need to do if we're going to get out of League Two. Bromley outplayed us. They got the goals. They won the game. They were all over us. It's a really disappointing result, and it's really disappointing that we couldn't get a goal back in. You can hear them singing behind me probably. But we go again. It's a new game next week, and all I can say, up the Gills.
I'm going to hand back to you, Warren, for the takeaway section.
Right. Okay. So Sarah touched on it about Gareth and what he's saying to the players and whatever. And I've called it Gareth tic-tacs instead of tactics. It was a bit of a play on words, because for me, I can't see a pattern of play, and I can't see a pattern of the way Gareth either wants us to play or the players are performing to play the way. So I'd like to ask Will, as a referee, you see different tactics that teams produce when you're in the middle, and you can pretty much gauge where you need to be as a referee with regards to the tactics after about 20 minutes, I would say. What do you believe the tactics Gareth is trying to employ?
Well, I think we've shifted actually over the last month, which is really interesting. I think we were playing a lot of long balls into space, a bit like Bromley were trying to do, and we did do really effectively for a while. We were playing sort of behind teams for a little while when we had Seb Palmer-Holdren on, we had a couple of players on. It seems to have switched in the last month or so to a slightly slower pattern of play, which is sort of picking up what Sarah's saying. We tend to go across the back a bit more. And go forward a bit more slowly, and it's interesting because I sit sort of behind the dugouts, and I'm not sure Gareth's happy with that actually. From sort of watching some of his body language and some of the communication to Gail and others at the weekend, I think he wants to go forward quicker, and we're not doing it for some reason. So I think there's a frustration there. I think he wants to play fast and wides, very much like Bromley did, but I don't think the team are doing it at the moment, and I think he's tinkering around with the players he's got. To try and make something work. So I think he's got an idea of what he wants to do, which I think is that 4-3-3, and I think he's just trying to find the players that can make it happen. And I think that's where he's struggling at the minute. He's obviously, you can see why last summer he re-signed a lot of the players. He'd come in late in the season, the players have picked up, they look like a good bunch, but we're now seeing, he's now seeing what we've seen for the last 2 or 3 seasons is what they can do and what they can't do. I think that's where we're now starting to see this shift in recruitment.
Yeah. So Sarah, where do you think? I mean, you go to a lot of home and away games. What do you think our tactics are, and how they differ from home games to away games, if they differ?
It's one of those, isn't it? It's like if you do the same, then you'll get. If you always do the same thing, you get the same results. So on that, if we always did the same when we're winning, in that theory, we should always win. And obviously, the 2 weeks in the bounce we won 3-0. We had the same team, didn't we? Didn't we have the same team for those 2 weeks? I'm sure we did.
Yep.
So, why if it's not broken, why fix it? So why doesn't he stick with the same thing, unless he wants him to change it up so that the opposition can't second guess what we're going to do? So I'm kind of contradicting myself in there, saying one point we should always do the same because it works, but if we always do the same, then the opposition's going to know we're going to do that, and then they're going to know our play. So we can't do right for doing wrong, can we?
Right. So I'll go to you, Dave, and again we'll go back to the discussion we had earlier. What do you think Gareth's preferred formation is?
Me, I think his preferred formation is the one we are now playing, a 4-2-3-1. Is that the formation any of the fans really want to see? Probably not. But for me, I think Gareth's too loyal to players that aren't giving him enough product. Obviously, my feelings on Gillingham centre forwards. I'm going to go again now. There's certain players keep getting played and not producing. Again, Josh Andrews at the moment played loads of games now for the Gills. Doesn't look like he can score a goal for anything. Again, Nevitt before that was given a run. Palmer Holden's not really been given a long period of time to play a lot of games in a row, and he now can't even get on the pitch. Marcus Wiley again is another one not really given a go. I just think from what I need from him, I need him to be more brutal. If you're not performing, you can't just get in this team because you run around. Like, I know I think me and you see Josh Andrews a bit differently, Warren. You think he's a bit of a handful and all that. I just don't see it. For me, he can't hold the ball. He doesn't head the ball to anyone. He's just there. And I think we need more than that. And to get two players up front, I just can't see a day where it's Andrews +1 for me. And I think it will be, because I don't think Vokes has got the legs to do that. And that's where I'm in a bit of a quandary with where we go here, because I think we'd all love to see an old-fashioned 4-4-2, two up front, but those days are gone. And to get two up front, you need to play three at the back. And I just don't think we've got the players really in midfield to do that. Unfortunately, I think they're too samey.
I mean, for me, right, and I quite agree with you, Dave. The 4-4-2 is probably a bit outdated, but I think the number 10 role is a very strange role to have, because I've never seen any influence from any of our players who's played it this season, and we've had 3 or 4 play the 10 role, not influenced the game at all, right? And I'm going to go on to Bradley Dack in a minute, but I would like to see either 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, right? Simple. But then you say simple, but what players have we got to play that, either of those formations? I don't get it, and I'll go on to this in recruitment versus formation. I just don't see where Gareth's going with his team. I really don't. And I love Gareth. I think he's a great bloke, but I think we've lost our way, and we've lost our way over now a period of months. It's all right beating your Newports and your Harrogates, right, who are doomed, to be fair, right? Most teams will beat Newport and Harrogate this season. But, of course, we jump on the bandwagon. Oh, we won 2 on the trot. But we was lucky against Newport. And Harrogate are so poor that at the moment, I mean, they can't buy a shot on goal.
Well,
So,
I was going to say, with your number 10 issue, obviously you're only going to play a number 10 really if you're going to play one up front. And that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. But if you're Bradley Dack and you're looking up in the number 10 position to try and create something, and you've got Josh Andrews up front, what can the number 10 do in this current formation? And this probably goes to where you're saying we need to change from that. But with this formation, this is what we're playing.
yeah,
Dack's only real option is probably to go wide, and the wingers aren't going to cross the ball because all the wingers do is invert and shoot. So Andrews is just redundant.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent to that, but I don't think the number 10 role is looking for the big centre forward. For me, the 10 role is you play off the big centre forward or to try and get some knockdowns. And none of our players have ever been near Josh Andrews to get anything off his knockdowns at all, right? So, therefore, when Dak does get the ball, I am expecting him to push it wide. And I am expecting our wingers to get balls into the box. But they don't. Because half the time, all we've got in the box is Josh Andrews. And we end up, as you say, playing the inverted, going backwards, sideways, or whatever. And we don't get balls into the box because at the end of the day, there's no point with just one man in there. Unless it's an absolute pinpoint on his head, knock it in. How many times have our wingers provided crosses?
They don't.
Right? When has whoever's played number 10, and I don't want to talk about Bradley Day because that's the next segment, but whenever we've played number 10, what number 10 has made things happen on a regular basis? They've been the centre of our forward play, which is what a number 10 should be.
Is that not what we brought Antwi to do now? A bit more legs to potentially do that role?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't. If you're going to play 5-3-2, you can't play a 10.
That's why I don't think we will long term.
This is why I don't. I think the number 10 becomes a position whereby you're chasing the game in midfield. You're taking a player out of midfield. And unfortunately, when teams play Gillingham and know we're going to play a 10 role, and they play very narrow with good marauding either one winger on Max Clark's side, and Max Clark, it's not the first time he's been exposed this year. And don't forget, Max Clark's been one of our better players over the period of time. I just think that football's simple. You don't worry about the opposition. Now, for me, I'll go to Gareth's Tic Tacs and I'll go to the recruitment formation bit that I was going to talk about, right? On the ME7 podcast, when they did an interview with Mark Bonner, I asked the question, do you think we need a left back, a hard tackling centre half, and possibly a goalkeeper? Right? And I was basically mocked. But you look at it now, we've now finally got the tough tackling centre half, right? A real leader. And we've been crying out for leaders. And I said this during the Mark Bonner interview with my question, right? Left back, yes, Max Clark is okay. Lenny Sereno, he's okay. But they're not good. And after Hutton's performance this season, we probably need a right back as well. And I agree with Will's comments about Graham McKenzie right back. I thought that was a really good point that Will made. Right? In this division, you've got to be strong. And unfortunately, I don't think we've got anyone with a nous to play any of these positions. So I'm going to go on to the Bradley Dack experiment. Right? I love Bradley. I don't want you to think that I dislike him. I think he's the best player our football club's got. I think intelligence-wise, as a footballer, he's miles away from any other player in our squad. But it's this 10 role. So I'm going to ask you, Dave, first. Do you think that Bradley Dack works in the number 10 role?
It's a tough one because he's our top goal scorer. So he's obviously chipping in. I know some of those are penalties. It's a really tough one to answer. Do I think he'll be here next year? No. I do think we now need to move on. For the club to develop and move on, I think it's time for Dak to go. But in the current team at this moment, I think personally he's doing enough to play. Yes, I agree with you. his legs have gone, so there's too much of a gap now between him and the centre forward. At the moment, especially at the weekend when we were chasing, he was dropping way too deep to come and pick up the ball, and that's normally a sign that we're either losing, we're not doing well, and he's getting frustrated that he ends up picking the ball up off the centre half. That's not what he should be paid to be doing, unless that's where they see him potentially, if he does stay, ending up. Maybe he does drop deeper. I don't think that's the answer. I'm just going to put that out there. If the season finished today, he'd probably be a lot of people's player of the season, I would say, for this season so far, in my opinion. But for the club to move forward, I do think the experiment needs to end at the end of this season.
I'll go to you, Sarah. Right? Do you believe? Don't go as though I'm just about to put you under the electric chair.
Not again, Warren. You promised.
I'm scared of question. I'm scared to ask you a question now. But do you think Bradley Dack has as much influence on the game playing in the 10 role as he should?
No.
And why?
I think when Bradley came back to us, everyone thought they were getting the Bradley that used to be, not the Bradley of now. And as much as he thinks he's the number 10 role, I don't think he is. He's not the player that he used to be. He might still be in his head, but he's had his day, and he's not for us anymore, I don't think.
Yeah,
like you say, the legs have gone, haven't they? As much as he's legendary and all the rest of it, he's just not for now.
But he's still our best player.
He is, yeah. Yeah, he's our best player, but with all respect, dare I say this, but look at what he's the best of.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really sorry, but
So Will, I'll come to you, Will. Right? You referee a lot of games, and you must see teams trying to play this number 10 role. What do you think that Bradley should be doing that he's not doing at the moment, or can't do at the moment?
Yeah, I think I have a different view from the rest of you. I think he will be here next year, and I think what's interesting listening to all the interviews after the game is he wasn't expecting to play this much, and Gareth wasn't expecting to play him this much, and I think that probably tells you what role they thought he was going to play, which is more impact sub or in certain games. I think this is a problem around what's around him. I think this is a sort of number 9 problem, because what you haven't got for a number 10 to work, what you need is players running past you or players making space ahead of you. And Andrews doesn't do that. Andrews is a hold-up player, although interestingly, Gareth talked about him think he was an in-behind player previously. And actually, I think if we do go with Hale from the start, I think Dack would get much more out of him than anyone else would. But what he hasn't got is the other midfielders running past him. For it to work, you need either wingers and a striker making space for the ball, and I think Bradley's probably the only one that could pick those balls out with accuracy and quality time after time, or you need someone running past him. And I think I've heard lots of conversations about should it be Dack or should it be Antwi. For me, it probably needs to be both to work. You probably need Hale up front, and you probably need Antwi alongside Dack running past him to make the angles for Bradley to play the ball into him. I think without that, it doesn't work. I think without that, it's a luxury you can't afford unless you do what Dave's sort of talking about but not suggesting, which is you put him in the sort of Pirlo role, almost play as a quarterback, and he picks the balls out of defence. But I don't think that works in League Two. We've seen that before. Portsmouth tried that a number of years ago. Didn't work. Everyone just too slow. The build-up's too slow. So I think he will be here. I think he'll be an impact player. I think he's got a strong role in that dressing room in terms of leadership, and you see it on the pitch sometimes. But we have to play to his strengths, and I don't think we are.
Yeah, I personally don't think he gets enough ball in the right areas. Even when he does make the effort to get in the right areas, I don't think we play the ball into him so he can influence the game too often. I think the problem with Bradley is he can't. When he played as a 10 before, he was always able to wheel round and make a 4 in midfield, but he can't do that now if he's up front or whatever. For me, I would keep Bradley Dack, but I would never start him in a game. I'd have him on the bench, right? And I'd have him as an impact sub for 20 minutes if we're chasing a game and we need some calmness or a little bit of magic, I'd bring him on for 20 minutes, but I certainly wouldn't start him because I think his legs are gone and we're just getting overrun in midfield because we're playing him in this 10 role. So that's it for me on the Bradley Dack thing. So I'm going to go on to recruitment versus formation. Okay. Now, I'll go to you, Dave, first. Bearing in mind, Gareth doesn't know whether he wants to play 4-3-3, 4-4-2, 5-3-2, 3-5-2, or whatever. How can we expect to recruit if we don't know what our formation is?
That's the $1 million question. I would like to think that Gareth's got a preferred formation that he would want to play, and then a backup formation, and then the club recruit based on that. Or the club have to have again, this is probably more down the Premier League route, they probably have a formation and the manager has to almost come in and fit that, and they get players for what they want to do. But for me, if Gareth, when he was interviewed, said, I play a 4-3-3, this is what I do, then the club should be recruiting for that. And if he makes changes during the game, players again should be able to adapt. But for me, when I started going, again, it's back in the 4-4-2 days, you knew who was going to start and what the formation was going to be every single game. I said, we were having a laugh on here a month or so ago when we didn't know who was going to be starting and what the formation was going to be. And for me, that should never be happening unless you've got a huge injury crisis at the club. But they need to be aligned. And for me, Gareth should be saying, this is what I want to do. Find me players for him to sign off that fit the way I want to play.
Yeah. So I'll go with Sarah next, right? Sarah, do you think the signings of Antwi, Howe and Beckles, right? Do you think those three players fit into the formation that Gareth prefers at the moment?
Probably not. But is that an insight to his new way of playing? Has he got something up his sleeve? And that's the reason we've signed those three players. That he's actually going to change the formation and how he's going to put the team out. So he's now going to fit in around you rather than you fitting into the current ways. I wonder if he's just got something that is in the back that he's going to come out with.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to the question, because I'll be honest, I'd love to spend a week with Gareth in training and with him talking to the recruitment team, because I'd like to see how everything aligns and on what path they're going down, because I can't see it. Yeah. I really can't see what path we're going, whether we're going left, right, or down the middle, or are we just going backwards? I don't know.
Is it the dog wagging the tail, or is it the tail wagging the dog?
Exactly. And I just think recruitment seems a bit, Antwi played well against us last week, let's go and get him. How he's up Scotland, he scored goals, suddenly we're going to go for him. But where are we going to play him? What is he going to be, our lone striker, 5'9"? Really? Mm-hmm. So I'll go on to you, Will, right? And I'm going to ask you, would you keep Hessenthaler and get rid of Ainsworth? Or would you keep Ainsworth and get rid of Hessenthaler?
I'm not sure I'd get rid of either, to be honest. I think the last thing we want to be doing at the minute is changing the manager. So I think part of the problem we've got is too many managers in too short a space of time. So different people with different ideas, recruiting different players. I think the shift for me needs to be, and I think we've done it in the last year and a half, is the manager needs to dictate the recruitment policy and not the recruitment team or director of football. And I think that's the mistake from the early days of the Gallinson reign, was having the director of football role in there dictating what sort of players you want. And I think for me there's a real shift of, we've gone away from recently, I think, from the sort of promising young player type approach. So the Coleman, Ogie, Wiley, Nelson Company type signings, the players who've got potential are probably a year, 18 months away. Antwi, Hale, Beckles feel like much more solid starters, ready to play. And it's interesting seeing some wording from Brad over the last couple of days about these are the sort of signings you can expect in the next window or two. And I think they're starting to realise to get out of this division, you need tried and tested players, and you need a good mix of experienced pros and a half a dozen players in their prime, in their mid-20s. You can't do it with sort of 19, with, team full of 19, 20-year-olds or promising prospects, and you can't do it with a load of 30-somethings. You've got to have a blend. And so I think this does mark a shift. And I'm hoping that's what we're going to see in the summer, with a bit of a clear out and a bit of a broom run through the squad in the summer, and a real change in where we go.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know what's gone wrong. Nothing seems to align to me, and I still can't see where we're going for the future because of the signings we've made and the formations that we play currently. I just don't get it. So before I finish up, I'd like to ask each one of you to name just one thing that you would like to see introduced into the signings in the summer that we haven't got now. So I'll go to you, Dave.
For me, we've got to be looking higher than we are. I think, to quote my dad, I think I put it in our group, if you sign League Two players, you become a League Two team. So I think we need to be somehow trying to get some players from the division above if we can, and then have a mixture of League Two players. But we need some experienced, good League One players that we can go and take and want them to come and be part of a project, not going and taking non-league players to be part of a project, because of course they're going to want to do that. We need to be going and taking players to come here. Yes, it will cost money. Do I think that will happen? Probably not, but that's what I think we need to do if we are seriously going to try and get out of this division next year.
So we'll come to you. What one thing would you like to see us do?
I think it's that core spine. I think that's what we've missed for a little while, is that whatever formation you're playing, whatever you're doing, you've got an absolute core spine of that team. And I think we're probably heading towards a goalkeeper change. We've got that new central defender, hopefully, that fits the mould at the back. We need that sort of midfield general. So I think when you've got that set up, everything else starts to work around it. I think that's what we're missing.
And Sarah?
Yeah, I agree. Basically, I think we should aim higher and try and get some League One players signed into our team. Sticking with League Two and below, it's not gonna work, is it? So we need to. The trouble is, if you're in League One, why would you want to come down to League Two unless you're in the departure lounge or on your way out anyway? So it's that finding that happy balance. But yeah, if we can encourage League One players to come to us, like Dave said, in this project, it's great if we can do that. And also a goalkeeper. Glenn, love Glenn to bits, but is he our number one goalkeeper next season? Or is he going to be our number two and we get a cracking goalkeeper in?
I'd get rid of them both, but that's my own personal opinion. Nothing against Glenn, nothing against Jake, but it's time to move on. Right? The one thing I'd like to see introduced, I'm going to sit on the fence and have splinters here, and I'm going to get pelters for it because I don't normally have splinters. I do normally have a decision. I think we need more pace in the side. You look at Bromley, they had pace in abundance. When they broke, they was quick. And I think when we break, in Rowe and McCleary and Andrews and Dak, do we really have a lot of pace? And when I say by pace, I mean by people that can pass the ball quickly as well, rather than dwelling on it and trying to put their foot on it and end up having to play back passes or sideway passes because they haven't been quick enough to see a forward pass. So I'd like to see a bit of pace, but I'd also like to see, as Will alluded to, someone in midfield, a midfield general that's going to boss teams in midfield, because we don't. Mackenzie and Little may be good players, maybe lovely people, maybe the best around. But for me, Mackenzie, I'd play in the back line. I thought he was excellent on Saturday when he went into the back line when Masterson went off. I think he should either play right back or centre half. But we need to find that midfield general, someone who's going to boss the midfield, pass it quickly, get people moving, get people up the pitch. And I'm hoping Beckles will do that. Although I suspect with his pace now, maybe that won't happen so much. I just think that everything needs to be done a lot quicker. We've got to close down quicker. We've got to do things quicker. Our goalkeeper's got to release the ball quicker. And we don't do any of these things, and it becomes so pedestrian that we allow teams to get into formation in front of us, and we've got nowhere to go. All the teams that have stifled us this year have been able to put in 2 banks in front of us and completely nullify anything we've tried to do. And we've had to end up living on scraps, and we've ended up reverting back to hoofball because we just can't pass it. How many people would you say in the Gillingham squad can actually pass the ball and at pace? I'll go you don't.
Well, not many of them, because we don't do it. There's teams near the bottom of the league that pass the ball quicker than we do.
Will.
I think there's a few that can do it. I think the Mackenzie goal a few weeks back showed we can do it. We played nicely out of the back, round the side, through the middle, and a nice passing move, flowing passing move. I think they can do it. But I think what stood out on Saturday, and it stood out last year when we played Bromley, is we are poor when we're under a high press. When we're pressed really hard and fast, we struggle to get out of that. They look like they panic slightly. I think that it's more that for me. It's that speed of thought, and getting out of the press is more the problem than the quality of the pass.
Sarah?
No, we just can't do it. We play head ball well, play hoof ball well. We just don't play it on the ground well, do we? And that's what they've got to do. Because when they do it, when they occasionally do it, you can see the class there, and it is there, but we just don't do it often enough.
As I say, I mean, for me, my message to these players are you're getting paid bloody well in this division, right? Compared to a lot of footballers in League Two. It's about time you started to earn your money. And if that's hard truth for any of the players watching, then it's the hard truth, I'm afraid. You've got to start earning your money. You're getting paid very well by really good owners who look after you. You need to start earning what's on your table. Because at the moment, I don't see you doing it. I'll hand you back to Dave.
Right, we will move on to our player of the match for the Bromley game. Come over to you, Warren. You've gone for Robbie McKenzie.
Yeah, I just thought that when he went to centre half, he shored things up. He looks a lot better than Masterson. He was certainly a lot better than Smith. And mistakes were fewer when he went to the back. I think maybe he talks better. I don't know.
Thank you very much. Sarah, you've gone for Bradley Dack.
I have, because he scored, obviously, the goal, not a goal, the goal. And I just thought he played really well on Saturday. And he kept his head in the game and didn't let, I'm not going to harp on about it, but outside influences ploughed his game on the day.
And Will, you went for new boy Ronan Howe.
Yeah, on the basis of the first half was a chalk off. I mean, let's just forget the first half. So second half, I think he stood out. I think I was impressed by what he offered, both in his movement and his control and his body language, and he looked keen, and he looked like he had some quality about him. So I'm looking forward to him over the next few weeks starting to bang some goals in. I think it's not far away. But for the keeper on Saturday, one or two.
And I went for Bradley Dack as well. I said for me, he scored the goal. I think he had 4 shots in total on target for the whole game. He was involved a lot. And yeah, I just think it was very hard to pick someone that stood out for the whole game. And obviously he didn't play the whole game. But for me, what he did when he was on the pitch was above and beyond what anyone else did. We will now look back at the January goal of the month, which is brought to you by the German Gills.
Clark has put the ball up on this sort of right hand side, puts it into the box. Oh, bad ball actually. Could just get something against Masterson. Yes! And Masterson puts it in the back of the net, and Gills have taken the lead. Well, Gills going to pick it up and McClure's to take a volley shot towards goal and it's scuffed and a chance! Oh, it's in the back of the net from Vokes! Oh, Gills have got third! Oh my goodness, that totally came out of the blue. Gills fans, what was your favourite goal this month from the 3 nominations? If you're on X, use the poll below to cast your vote. If you're on YouTube, leave your choice in the comments. For a chance to win a prize from our sponsors, Viper Golf, make sure you like this post and repost it. The winner will be announced in the next German Gills video.
And we have a game tomorrow night, so we will look at that. I know, Warren, you're going. We'll go over the last 5. So, oh dear. Notts County have lost 1-1-1-1, and we have drawn, lost 1-1. Lost. Warren, as you're going, thoughts on the game, and do you see there being a lot of changes tomorrow, or do you think it will be sending out the ones that didn't do too well and telling them to do better?
I don't think what's going to happen tomorrow. If he plays the same team, I'm going to go mad. If he makes changes to the formation and to certain personnel, I'll be happy, even if we lose, because at least he's tried something. But there's a few of them Saturday that I know Masterson won't be able to play. There's a few there Saturday that shouldn't get another chance.
And Sarah, what are your thoughts? Is it time for all 3 of the new signings to go straight into the team for tomorrow night?
Yeah, chuck them all out, chuck them all in, get them on the pitch, see what they can do. Yeah, cause a stir, go for it.
And Will, would it be very Gills if we went to Notts County based on that run of form and pick up the 3 points? Or do you think after the weekend's game that we should just try and get out of here as best we can and then look ahead to the Tranmere game?
Well, it would be very Gills to go and get a result out there. Certainly very old Gills. I think that's what's interesting about this season is we've stopped turning over the top teams and we started beating the bottom teams, which is the opposite of what we normally do. But I think Notts County is quite similar to Bromley, really, in the way they play. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how he sets up and how that works. But I'm expecting changes.
To be honest, we've got a good record at Notts County. Our record ain't too bad. And I always look at records with different teams, home and away and whatever. And Notts County ain't a bad hunting ground for Gills in the past. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad.
It'd be very Gillsy to go and win 2-0.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Gareth's face at the press conference after you've seen the YouTube press conference is the words sounded jolly, but his face, he looked really angry. It's the first time I've seen him really angry in a press conference. I think this might be last chance saloon for a couple of players. I think he's losing patience with a couple, I think.
And we will move on to our sponsors and partners. So we are sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and are in partnership with Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast Network. We are on social media. If you're not already, why aren't you a member of the Facebook group, which Sarah looks after, The View from the Medway? We are on X, which was Twitter, The View from the Medway Fancast, or at TVFTM. And we're also on YouTube, The View from the Medway Fancast. Before we finish, just want to see if there was any other business that anyone wanted to bring up before we say our goodbyes. Warren?
Yeah.
Is there any more that you can add?
It's not football related. It's to do with a couple of our sponsors. So Dave from Wicked Creative is undergoing medical treatment at the moment. It's quite serious, but with her life on social media, she's putting the bravest face on what she's going through. And I'm sure from all of us, we wish Dee the very best of luck with her treatment and get well and look after yourself and whatever. And then just for Snodhurst Service Station, I did use them for the first time last week, and it was only a small job that I went in there to start off with. In out, pricing was very good for what I had done. Really happy, and my car's going back in tomorrow for something a bit more serious. So I would like to just say that Snodhurst is a really good service.
Thank you. Sarah, have you got anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Excellent. Will?
I think the one thing you didn't ask, which I thought you were going to ask me, is the penalty incident, and ask the rest of you on the penalty incident. And for me, it was a stonewall at the time, and watching it back is even worse. So I mean, it would have I think, unfairly for Bromley turned the game on its head a bit, and we probably didn't deserve it, but it was a stonewaller for me.
Perfect. And as always, we will be back next Monday at 8 p.m. to look over the Tranmere game, and we'll also go over the Notts County game. So from myself, Will and Sarah, up the Gills.